Hey guys, and welcome to another video. Tonight we are going to be discussing the 5 benefits or 5 reasons why intermittent fasting or fasting in general is better for your overall health than dieting. So my name is Diane Parham, and for the past 25 years I have been helping women find nutritional plans and fitness programs to help them look and feel their best and live their most authentic life. And for me, over the past couple of years, that has been done through intermittent fasting. And now I am paying forward all of the experience and research that I have done with intermittent fasting and what I've been able to do to change my overall health over the past couple of years. And I'm sharing that with you. So if you are new and you're joining me on Facebook, please take a second to hit that like button so you'll be notified when I go live. And if you are catching this on YouTube, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified when I upload a new video. And I generally upload new videos every morning by about 5:30. And I'm always here live on Facebook at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So welcome. So tonight we're going to be discussing those 5 reasons or benefits to fasting over dieting. And I stress this a lot in the videos that I do here on social media, and I also teach it very extensively in the course that I've developed for aging women who are trying to implement intermittent fasting to help balance out their hormones and really start a process of anti-aging and overall better health for themselves as we start going through this aging process. So these benefits are very, very specific to our season of life that we're in as aging women. So if you find that you're suffering from some health struggles, or you would like to kind of do some things that are on the natural side of the anti-aging, or you are just trying to just get you back because you've kind of lost yourself through some of the struggles that you've had as your hormones are changing and life is kind of moving on and you feel like leaving you behind, then these 5 things are things that you really need to listen to and consider implementing intermittent fasting in your life for these 5 things alone. So the first one is that intermittent fasting gets rid of stubborn weight and nasty sugar cravings. So, as women, we generally, when our hormones are out of balance, do tend to crave sugar. We crave those chocolatey kind of snacks. We crave sort of mindless eating types of things. And that's just because our body gets out of balance hormonally during certain times of our cycle monthly. And when that happens, we do end up craving sweets. And so when that happens, what happens for us as we're aging and as our hormones are out of balance, it creates a snowball effect of unwanted hormonal body fats and kind of opens us up for some risk factors for disease as well, because sugar is that thing that just sort of heightens the awareness of a lot of diseases and kind of brings them into our house, being our body. And so we really kind of want to be very aware of the sugar that we're intaking as we age, because it just hosts all kinds of problems for us. Okay, we're back. One of those being that stubborn hormonal body fat, specifically belly fat. If you are a woman who doesn't generally hoard fat in your belly, you'll notice that you're going through some hormonal changes when that fat starts to kind of sit on that belly and you can't get rid of it. Okay, number 2. Number 2 is, this is the one that I absolutely love the most, and I can say I have personally seen the best benefit from it and have really appreciated what this is doing for me. And that is that intermittent fasting, or fasting in general, builds muscle and promotes overall health and wellness. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, and I am a health and fitness coach, so I promote fitness and I promote healthy lifestyles. And I was that coach that was constantly pounding my body in the ground, trying to set the good example and kind of have that body that looked like I was a fitness professional, and was really doing a lot of damage to my body, which I think got me kind of to that place where I was really starting to feel sick a couple of years ago. And so what I have found with intermittent fasting is that I no longer have to exercise in the way I did before to maintain the same look, or in my opinion now at 50, even better. Because I'm not so obsessed about it and I'm not so stressed out about it. And it really has been that thing that's helped me create a very healthy, lean, muscular body without having to put hours and hours and hours in the gym tearing my body down. And one of those reasons is that because when you're fasting as a woman, your growth hormone levels are increased by 1,300%. That's 1,300%. So all of those things that we do to increase that growth hormone level happens naturally when we are in a fasted state. So fasting will help you create a fit body. With exercise makes it just that more beneficial. But if you have to take a pause from exercise, which is what I just had to do for the last 3 months because we got a puppy and then I've been injured, and I haven't been able to work out, but you wouldn't be able to tell that by looking at my body because I look very lean and very fit. And that's because my body is also in a fat burning state most of the time. So I'm not what you would call skinny fat for lack of exercise. I look very lean and fit. And that's because my growth hormones are peaking. And usually at this point for women, I'm 50 years old, that's when our growth hormones start to naturally decline, which is why we get flabby and why we get all that extra body fat. And fasting will send your growth hormones through the roof, and studies have shown by 1,300%. So if you're kind of noticing that you're losing some lean body mass and you're kind of at that point where you're putting on that extra body fat and you're exercising and you can't get rid of it, fasting will do that thing that will naturally promote that growth hormone for you and help you maintain that muscle mass that we need to have in order to burn that fat more efficiently. So number 2 was builds muscle and promotes overall health and wellness. And number 1 was gets rid of stubborn weight and nasty sugar cravings. So we're moving on to number 3. Number 3 is it enhances brain health and prevents neurological disorders such as Alzheimer's disease. Now, this is one thing that I talk very frequently about and very openly about because my family does suffer from Alzheimer's disease hereditarily. So it goes all the way up to my grandmother, my mother, and I started noticing some signs of Alzheimer's disease, like pre-warning signs of Alzheimer's disease these last couple of years. And, and I talk about it all the time too, how we take this very lightly, like, forgetting where your keys are, forgetting where you parked your car, or forgetting, where your cell phone is or where you put your purse, or walking into a room and then having no idea where you're there. It's sort of that thing that we laugh off as, we're it's a senior moment, or, I'm blonde, so then you put the blonde joke in there too. And it's really not funny when it's happening to you and you feel completely helpless and completely hopeless. And that's the point that I was at. I was absolutely terrified that I was going to lose my mind and lose my life because I couldn't remember very basic everyday things. And since I have really adapted this protocol that I've developed for my course, and I've been exercising it for myself in my own lifestyle for the past year, I can tell you that my brain function has totally improved. I still lose my keys every now and then, but that's going to happen. But I don't have to panic anymore when I walk. I remember where I parked my car. I can remember the names of my children. And those were things that I was, on a daily basis losing the capacity or the ability to do, and it scared the living daylights out of me. So if you find you're in that, that mode of forgetting everything all the time, I would really consider looking into something that's going to help that brain function of yours and try to restore and save as much as you can before it's totally gone. So number 3 is it will help with brain function and offset and prevent Alzheimer's disease. Okay, number 4, reduces oxidative stress and fights stress aging and disease, including the C word, which would be cancer. There's tons and tons of research out there now, probably just within the last couple of months, where doctors are more openly talking about fasting and the prevention and the cure, or using cancer with cancer medicines as an opportunity to cure cancer patients. And the studies are absolutely mind-blowing. And I always say that, if we're going to do the daily things to prevent cancer, like eating a bunch of blueberries and increasing our immune system and taking vitamin D and putting sunscreen on and all of those things, like, imagine how powerful all of those preventive measures will become if you incorporated fasting, where there's actual case studies being done with people with cancer who are having amazing results reversing it and or using it in conjunction with their cancer therapy and having a much better experience if you can while you're going through treatment with cancer. So why not take a chance? I mean, fasting is not anything that we should be afraid of. It's just skipping a couple meals a day. We become so dependent and so addicted to that eating cycle, and it's killing us, and we're going to die these like slow, miserable deaths because we're afraid to give up breakfast food. And it's really silly when you start to think about it, because the studies are there, and we are just afraid. And so I would encourage all of you who are watching this to go do your research, read a couple case studies, trust that what is being done in the labs, and trust what's being done with some of these patients is actually what's happening, and it could happen to you. And if skipping breakfast and going a few hours a day in a true fasted state, and keep in mind that there's a difference between being fasted and just not eating. There's a huge difference, in a lot of these women who are suffering with intermittent fasting and not seeing the results that they're looking for, it's because they're not eating and they're not putting their body in a true fasted state. And there's a huge difference. So make sure you know the difference between the two of those, and make sure if you are going to be incorporating intermittent fasting for these health benefits that I'm talking about tonight, that you really learn what it means to be in a true fasted state so that you will reap the benefits that we're speaking about tonight. Okay. Number 5 is, one more thing before I move on to that. I want to say this because this will kind of hit home with people on the cancer thing. And that cancer cannot survive on fat because cancer is fueled and survives on sugar. So most often when you're on an intermittent fasting protocol, or you're following an intermittent fasting lifestyle, you naturally become a very low carb person and a very high fat person. And oftentimes we don't do it like on purpose, or at least how I trained my course and my women is like, we don't want to become obsessed with food. We don't want to become food phobic, and we don't want to be on a diet. But what we want to do is just become very conscious about how we feel when we eat certain types of food. And what happens when you really do get your body into that true fasted state, you naturally stop craving carbohydrates, which goes back to number 1 in reducing the sugar cravings. So when you reduce the urge or the desire for carbohydrates, and your body is feeding itself off fat foods look more attractive to you, using lots of oils, avocados, nut butters, raw nuts, those kind of things become very attractive to you visually and to your palate, because that's what your body is now running off of, so it needs that to keep going. And so you naturally just become a low carb, high fat eater without putting yourself in that category of a diet. So we never ever focus on dieting. We just eat the foods that make us feel and look our best, and that happens to be high fat. And again, for aging women, we need those fat calories in our bodies, because our body's hormones are changing and shifting, and everything in our body is drying out. And so we need those extra oils for our hair and our skin and our nails and all of those things that we start to really notice about aging that we just are not happy with. Eating lots of fats will help with that, along with starving out those cancer cells, because they thrive in a high sugar environment and they will not be able to thrive in a high fat environment. So that's another great reason to really incorporate that intermittent fasting and get that high caloric fat up, so that you can kind of fend off those cancer issues as well. And then number 5 is it delivers an array of other benefits that we don't really think about, and I'm going to kind of list off a few here. And these are kind of more on the hormonal side specifically, like normalizing insulin and leptin sensitivity, and we go into a whole lesson on that in the course that I teach, and learning how to kind of listen to your leptin levels and managing them instead of letting your leptin levels kind of take control of your life. It normalizes the ghrelin levels, and ghrelin is one of those hunger hormones that will drive you absolutely crazy when you're on a diet and you're eating every 2 hours, and that ghrelin is just sort of running your life and driving you crazy. And I think by the 3rd day in my course, we learn how to control the ghrelin and the leptin and the neuropeptides, which are those hunger hormones. and we learn how to manage them so that they are no longer running our life. And that's a key benefit to intermittent fasting. We hit that right off the bat in day 3. It also lowers your triglyceride levels, improves biomarkers of disease, reduces inflammation, and lessening of the free radicals. And I think that inflammation part is a big one too, because I can tell from my body. So when you're inflamed is sort of like, I look at it like this. It's sort of like trying to spot reduce fat. So if I work out, let's say, or I'm gonna, reduce calories or change my nutrition to lose weight, I can't say like I want to lose weight on my left thigh. Like my body determines where it's going to lose weight when I make changes in my nutrition or my exercise. I don't get to determine that. It's usually in your problem areas last, and the places that you put on weight last will always be the places that you lose weight first. That's just how it works. So the same thing goes for inflammation. If my body is inflamed internally, I'm going to be inflamed from head to toe. And when my inflammation is reduced, it's also reduced from head to toe. We're not really aware of where we're more inflamed than other places. But when we really get into that fasting protocol and we find that sweet spot with our fasting protocol and our body starts to become uninflamed, everything in your body will reduce back down, because the inflammation's from the inside out. Inflamed means that you're just like swollen everywhere and you're retaining all that water. And when that goes away, we're seeing huge weight loss numbers. We're seeing huge inches lost. We're seeing mental clarity come back. All these amazing things that we never really associate with inflammation because we're just so used to having it in our body every day. It's just something we live with. But we're not supposed to be living with it because that's what makes us sick. And a lot of these autoimmune disorders that are coming up these days, with it seems like every woman has some sort of autoimmune disorder. I was one as well. Or you're on the brink of an autoimmune disorder, or you have characteristics that are like an autoimmune disorder, and it seems like now these rare autoimmune disorders are popping up. A lot of that is tied to inflammation, and your body's just breaking down on the inside. Intermittent fasting will be that thing that gets rid of that inflammation in your body and will allow your body to be healthy again. And yes, it reduces your body in size and it lets go of that water weight. So then I get a question often like, well, what is water weight? Like, what does that matter? Well, when you step on a scale and there's a number there, do you care whether it's water weight or fat weight or muscle weight or bone weight? No, we don't care. We just don't like the number we see. And then when we lose all of that stuff, we're happy with the number we see. So I always say, if it's on your body and it's not supposed to be there, water weight, fat weight, whatever it is, when it goes away, we celebrate that, because now we're finally able to make some progress and get the body and look and lifestyle that we want, because we're going to be happy and healthy and energized. So inflammation is a big one of those factors that is being reduced with intermittent fasting or fasting in general. And then the last one just preserves memory function and learning. And that's because your brain is functioning better. Because when you are fasting, you get your body into that fat adaptive state. You get through burning glycogen as an energy source. You start burning fat as an energy source. Once you get efficient at burning fat, then we start burning off those damaged dead protein cells. That clears out all that fog in your brain. And then you're back to being, a vibrant, happy, confident woman, because you're remembering things and your body's feeling better and you're not all weighed down by all that gunk that we store up when we are living on glucose energy and a bunch of carbohydrates. So if you're frustrated with intermittent fasting or you're not sure if it's going to work for you, trust me, you are not the only person that intermittent fasting is not going to work for. Intermittent fasting is working for so many people. It is reversing so many diseases with women. It is helping women get their life back, get their confidence back, get their bodies back, get their health back, have the bodies that they want to have without excessive calorie counting and portion controlling and, obsessing about what foods it's right to eat and what foods not right to eat. Like, what happens with your body when you become a successful and what I call a fasting pro. When you become a fasting pro, your body will tell you what it wants to eat, and it'll tell you loud and clear. So, there's so many women who are experimenting with breaking their fast with a high carbohydrate diet, and they're sick. I mean, just absolutely sick, because their body just can't handle it anymore. And so your body will start to tell you what it wants to eat from a healthy standpoint, just like your body is telling you what to eat from an unhealthy standpoint when you're craving the carbohydrates and you're craving the sweets and you're craving the fried foods and you're craving the battered this and the battered that and the dip sauce here and that. Like, it's craving that because that's what's easy for it to take in and get its fuel from. But once you switch that energy switch over to burning fat, your body will no longer find those foods attractive and will reject them if you try to put them in. And that's really when you know that you've kind of won the battle with intermittent fasting, and you really are in that healthy repair body state, is when your body does start rejecting those kind of things. Oh, thanks, Faith. That's so nice of you to say, and I absolutely look forward to doing this every night too. I love hanging out with you guys. Awesome. Denise, thank you so much. Janet, love having you here. What about weight training? Okay, so weight training mean, can you do weight training while you're intermittent fasting? Yes, absolutely. Weight training is excellent with intermittent fasting. There's no exercise you can't do with intermittent fasting. I always just say that the more intense or the longer duration, you just kind of want to adjust when you're eating certain types of foods. So, and I kind of go just off my own personal experience. So when I was running, 10 miles a day or whatever, I had to kind of adjust when I ate my carbohydrates so that I did have that readily available, like, glycogen store to kind of get me going. And then once I kind of got into my aerobic mode and started, into that aerobic feeling of running, I could get, 6 or 7 miles in and feel great. But I initially sort of needed that glycogen store to kind of get myself going and running. It may have been a mental thing, I don't know, but I tried it without carb. And it was usually a carb that I had at night because I ran fasted in the morning. And when I got that carb in at night, like a sweet potato or a little bit of brown rice, then I had a much better start to my run the next morning. But lifting weights is fine because it's not really an endurance type of workout. And unless you're like a woman power lifter or something, you should be fine working out in a fasted state. And the way I describe working out in a fasted state, it kind of goes like this, and this is how my brain works, is that if I'm going to work out and I'm already in a fasted state, which means I'm already burning and I'm fat adaptive and I'm burning through those glycogen stores and I got no glycogen left and I'm tapping into that fat for my energy source, then working out when I'm in a fat burning state is just going to make that fat burning state much more efficient, because working out also does that. It helps you burn body fat, and then the lean muscle does the same thing, and then you have the heightened growth hormone. So it's like the most ideal situation for any type of workout, because your growth hormones are spiked, your fat burning opportunity is spiked, your glycogen levels are low, and so you're going to be able to get a much better overall result and the physique that you're desiring to get with your training in a much quicker way, because your body's just going to be more efficient in what you're doing. So I hope that helps with that one. Okay, so I don't know, my internet keeps popping out of me. The 5 benefits to intermittent fasting for your overall health that dieting can't do. And so if I were to summarize what dieting is just basically calorie restriction, where you're trying to balance out calories in, calories out. It has nothing to do with hormones and has nothing to do with health. It's all about losing weight, and that's the only benefit of dieting. Whereas intermittent fasting, you are changing your lifestyle to put your body in a state of self-healing and self-correcting and burning fat more efficiently. And all of those things will benefit the 5 things I'm about to list off. So number 1 is gets rid of stubborn weight and reduces sugar cravings. Again, that's why we would diet, but we wouldn't get all these extra results that we would get from intermittent fasting. Number 2, builds muscle and promotes overall health and wellness. And again, that's through that heightened human growth hormone. And again, studies have shown that for women, it's at 1,300% increase in human growth hormone release when you're in a fasting state. So that's where that weight training and running and anything else that you're going to do exercise-wise will come into play, because your growth hormone is exactly what we need for that. And then number 3, it enhances brain health and prevents neurological disorders such as Alzheimer's disease. And again, when we get into that autophagy state, or that state of burning through glycogen, burning through fat stores and then getting to that point where we burn the dead protein cells. So we're not burning good protein, we're burning dead, damaged protein cells, and that gets our brain cleared out, and that gets our body in a place of where we can self-repair or self-heal. And then number 4, reduces oxidative stress and fights stress with aging and disease, including cancer. So number 4, like all you would have to say is number 4 is number 1 for me, and I would have to listen no more, because I am seriously always trying to find ways to kind of postpone a cancer experience in myself and my family. And we always say if we ever have to deal with cancer, we want to make sure that our bodies are at the healthiest point they could possibly be to fight anything off and to fight the treatment that we'd have to get rid of it. So fasting alone will do that for you and put your body in a position where it not only will help you not get cancer, but it can also be part of your cure or your protocol for getting rid of the cancer. And a lot of doctors are starting to implement intermittent fasting or fasting for that. And then the last one is just all the other hormonal areas in which intermittent fasting helps you. And those are those 3 hunger hormones I talked about, leptin, ghrelin, and neuropeptides. And again, on day 3, we cut that down in the course that I'm teaching. Lowers triglyceride levels and preserves memory function and learning. So 5 reasons why intermittent fasting is better than a diet. I don't know why women are still questioning if this is going to work for them or not. I can tell you that it will work. You just have to do it correctly, and you have to get someone who's going to help you if you cannot do the research on your own to kind of figure out those little tweaks that are going to get you in that truly fat adaptive fasting state. There are some tweaks to it. There is a little bit of a learning curve, and if you don't understand what those things are, then you will spend months and months and months struggling with intermittent fasting and feeling frustrated, and then probably end up quitting. And trust me, whatever you were doing before you started playing around with intermittent fasting wasn't working for you either. But the studies show that what you were doing before will slowly damage your body and put you in a very unhealthy state. And intermittent fasting, as frustrated as you might feel if it's not working for you, will be that thing that will help your life in so many different ways, reverse the aging process, improve your muscle, your memory, help you build lean muscle mass, even in your 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s. There is no age limit to the success that intermittent fasting can do for you. So no need to age in a horrible way when we have this very simple technique that we can incorporate into our lifestyle, and we can really start preserving that youthful life that we once had. There's no reason to let it go. Intermittent fasting can give that to you. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I apologize for the fact that my internet kept popping in and out. That's sort of weird. But I hope that this gave you some encouragement about jumping into intermittent fasting, or maybe some tips that you were unaware of for the benefits of intermittent fasting. And if you are interested in joining my course, it starts May 6th. I think we have 1 or 2 spots left. And if there is a huge demand over this next week to jump in, I will always take a little bit of overflow because we won't start another course until June. So I don't want to cut anybody off. If you are really interested in jumping in, you have to just make sure that you get in contact with me so that I make sure that the course stays open for you and you can get in before we absolutely have to cut it off. I really don't like to let any women in after we've started the course, because you end up missing out, because we all go through the same sort of learning curve together our first and second week. And if you're jumping in kind of late, then you'll miss all that great opportunity of interacting with other people as we go through the protocols and managing those hunger hormones and getting through a couple other squeaky points with intermittent fasting. So I do just have a couple of spots left, but if you reach out to me and let me know that you are very interested and you can get yourself registered within that same day of contacting me, then I will make some exceptions and I will allow a little bit of an overflow for May, because there has been such a high demand to get into that group. So definitely reach out to me if you're interested. Thanks so much for joining me tonight, you guys. Tomorrow is Friday. So I take Friday and Saturday nights off from live broadcasts and uploading to YouTube, just because I have a family and I'm a wife, and I take some time to spend with them over the weekend nights. But I will be back here on Sunday night, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. If you have a question about intermittent fasting, or you are struggling in a certain area with intermittent fasting, definitely feel free to leave them in the comments below. I always go through and read all the comments, and I will answer them personally for you. And the same thing on a rebroadcast, you can leave a message, I will go back and check them. And on YouTube, I have been loving all of the interaction on the YouTube channel with everybody leaving their comments and their testimonials of their own success with intermittent fasting. I think everything that we share out in public with our successes with intermittent fasting will just encourage so many more women to jump in and give it a try themselves. And that's really all this is about, is just kind of spreading the word and letting women know that it does work and that they're not alone and that there's a whole community of other women that are out there to support and help them. So thanks for joining me, you guys, and I will see you back here on Sunday unless I catch you on Facebook or YouTube this weekend. Have a good night.